quite a bit of wood for the build. We're hoping to start putting the subfloor in, framing out the walls, and doing the ceiling. In order to get the subfloor in, we went ahead and patched up all these holes that you see that were all along the van. On the wheel wells, there might have been 50 to 100 holes all over the place here. We like to patch these with JB Weld steel stick. It comes in like a clay, and you mix the two bits together and it creates something that is as hard as steel. Great for projects like this where we need to patch up the metal holes in the sheet metal of the van floor. After we had all the holes patched up, we sprayed the floor with just some Rust-Oleum protective enamel. This is to prevent any rust from building up if some moisture gets under our subfloor. So essentially we'll be cutting out a piece of this plywood and getting it into the van, and that'll be our subfloor. There's also one thing that I wanted to address, and that is the paint job of this Dodge Ram van. There was some overspray and there were some things that needed to be touched up. The hinges needed to be painted a flat black, and I didn't get to do any of that in the video. I went ahead and did it last weekend, and the results are questionable. So as you can see, the batch of sand Durback I got does not match the original. I went ahead and cleaned up our black Rust-Oleum bed liner, and I think it looks amazing. But I touched up the rest of the van, and the color is completely off. It's super disappointing, and I've spent so much of my time painting this van. I've already contacted Durback, and they've told me they're going to look into the batch number situation and figure out why these two colors are advertised to be the same color but are completely two different colors. So we'll fix it eventually. I just wanted to inform you that that's still a work in progress. So we are jumping into it head first this morning. Here we have a little scribed out piece of paper to get this good angle around the wheel well and the doorway, and then we're going to put this onto one of our pieces of plywood. There's this bit right here that was for an arm that came out for the wheelchair lift that was mounted here. We're gonna just be putting a plywood plate along this, and it'll cap this off, and we'll probably be covering all this with the same vinyl floor as that we put throughout the van. So now we need to scribe out this side, and then we'll need a third piece in the back. I wanted the biggest piece to be right in the entryway because this is right where you're going to be stepping in, and the largest piece is the most solid. It'll be the best glued down, so this will be most of the walkway anyways. It'll be perfect. So we have our next little template to throw onto a piece of, we're using 1/2-inch plywood by the way, and hopefully this one will fit in perfectly up against the wall and pressure fit up against this piece, and it'll become super sturdy. So it's time to go check out the subfloor and see how it's sticking. I added a couple of LED lights over the workbench, and how do you think it looks? Then we have the main spotlight. We have the 3 pieces in and some weights on top of them to just help that liquid nails adhere straight to this plywood, and it is solid feeling. So let's take out all these weights and check it out. Now we have the floor completed. Let's just move straight into the next step. We are going to insulate the van with 3M Thinsulate. 3M Thinsulate is an acoustic insulation, so it'll also provide sound deadening for the entire van. We'll do this, and then after that we will start framing out the van so we can throw up the walls. We will be insulating all these areas where there's just open metal and up on the fiberglass roof. Hopefully we can get it all done with this massive piece of Thinsulate. And this is why this type of insulation is way better than foam. I was able to cut a 2.5-inch strip and stow it up under this crease. We have a perfect strip of insulation that a piece of framing will cover up right here on the windowsill. I'm able to just hold this piece up and pretty much tear it with my hands to make this perfect fit around the window. That's how easy this 3M Thinsulate is to work with. So now we have this entire wall around this window completely insulated. Pretty easy. So we'll just go around each of the windows, cover up all the walls, and then we'll start working on the strips that'll go above onto the ceiling. Well, unfortunately, it's starting to get pretty dark, but I'm making a lot of progress. It's that time of year again where it'll be dark by 5 and we'll be working with a headlamp or something maybe. But as you can see, installing this stuff is as easy as measuring and then just cutting with scissors. We can do this. Oh, that's nice. As you can see, we've gotten quite a few things done to the van. We almost have it entirely framed out. As you can see, we have it all around the windows here, down to the subfloor. Everything's mounted down. Everything is completely insulated along this wall with 3M Thinsulate. And we are now going to work on boxing out this wheel well. I had to bring out the little buddy heater though. It is so cold outside. It is about 30 degrees today, but the sun is fully out. The bed frame's going to be sitting on top of this, so we wanted it to be pretty rigid. So it's been another couple of days. We haven't been working on the van, but we got a lot of progress done before the weekend. We boxed in both of the wheel wells, so this is going to provide us a really great point to put our bed frame maybe on top of, or somehow mount it to these wheel wells, because these are mounted directly to the floor and they're very sturdy. This entire wall completed, and For the most part, this wall, I'm gonna try to get some supports under this window, just like this window here. And when we have the bed frame installed, we will design it so the mattress is in the very widest part, which is in the window. We've officially decided to go with a platform bed. Now, my design with the pull-out slat bed was fantastic for my Chevy Astro GMC Safari camper platform. This is because that van, it was so small that I didn't fit in a platform bed. So this huge space will be dedicated for gear like snowboards, fishing poles, mountain biking gear, all that sort of stuff can go right here. And we're gonna have a perfect little garage space, as a lot of people call it. I'm gonna call it huge trunk space because, well, every car has a trunk. Really proud how this wall came out. Can't wait to throw the plywood up and finish up the ceiling. So I think we're gonna move on to doing the ceiling. We do not have enough 3M Thinsulate to insulate this entire van, which is crazy. But the plan is, since the roof is going to be essentially a perfect square, we could just get some really high quality foam board. This Thinsulate insulation that I went with, it's an acoustic insulation, and it also has an R value of about 5.2, I believe. So we could get some foam board insulation to finish up the ceiling here, and we'll be entirely insulated. And by the way, I'm doing this in 30 degrees here in Oregon. Winter came early. So my original plan for the ceiling was just to put some plywood and mount it to this fiberglass. But I think now we're gonna use these furring strips. We have the fiberglass ceiling, but within the fiberglass there's furring strips essentially in here. So we're just mounting this to those thick pieces, the furring strips. So right now we're pretty much just framing up the fan. This way, when we put our ceiling planks up, we can just have a good mounting point. These are going to be covered up, obviously, but still trying to get them somewhat straight, I guess. Well, I stripped out one of the holes. Fiberglass is kind of easy to do, and I'm not using too long of screws because I don't want to puncture the ceiling. So this morning we began to insulate the ceiling. We're starting with a radiant heat barrier, pretty much a reflective insulation. Essentially, the idea behind this is the roof is going to be what is exposed to the sun in the hottest point of the day. So we want that heat to obviously be attracted to our solar panel so we could generate energy, but we don't want to heat the living space. So we have this Reflectix insulation, and then we're gonna go over that with some foam board and fill the larger gaps in between all of the cross members, all the furring strips that we have. And then we're gonna be ready to start wiring up the ceiling for our puck light. A thing to keep in mind if you're gonna use any type of Reflectix insulation is to provide it with an air gap. So as you can see, we have our 1/2-inch foam board across the entire van now. We have the Reflectix up into this indentation, as you can see, and then the 1/2-inch foam board is gonna sit right here. So there's gonna be about a 1/2-inch gap between the Reflectix and this foam board. And you can kind of see, we can put our hand right through here. This is gonna provide us with a really effective insulation. We're gonna have 2 separate layers of insulation up on the roof, and this 1/2-inch brings the roof super flush. But this is what the ceiling looks like. We got the wire for the fan ran all the way over here. Then we took a little bit of a notch out in the ceiling so that can run flush, and we'll run that down to our battery bank solar setup area. Thank you for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, look forward to more build content, and I'm getting excited to hit the road. As always, we'll see you in the next one.